was reading a book the other day.
Reading a book?
Yes, it's all about civilization or something. A nutty kind of a book. Do you know that the guy says that machinery is going to take the place of every profession?
What do you say?
No.
Tomorrow night?
No.
Next year?
No.
Good. Because by me it's this way. The longer they know, the harder they yes.
Well, I don't want to be honorable with you unless it's absolutely necessary.
It is the Al Travis Show, and to be quite honest with you, our next guest comes highly recommended, so we're very happy to have him on the program. He is Mike Croissant, and for folks who know who the recommendation was, Professor Kathleen Collins out of the University of Minnesota. She's our Ukraine expert, and she gave me your name and contact information and said, Al, you'd be wrong not to have him on. Mr. Croissant, thanks for coming on the program.
Hey, thanks, Al. Glad to be here.
Might I know, how do you know Professor Collins?
Oh, gosh, we met 20 plus years ago through a common interest in Central Asia and been friends and working colleagues ever since. I think the world of her. She's probably the smartest person I know.
Yeah, she scares me. I don't like working with people that smart. But she comes on the program on a regular, like say, talking about the Ukraine. What do you do, sir, if we can? Are you author but for a living, or is that a side gig? What do you do for a living?
This so far was a one-off, the book we're going to talk about, but I retired from the CIA in 2021 after 22 years nearly serving around the world. And currently I'm a vice president for corporate intelligence for Strafe, which is a risk management company in Houston.
In Houston, Texas. Okay. Well, thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.
A one-off. So you're out there, you're working a little CIA stuff, doing stuff that you're not going to tell me out unless you kill me. I get it. Then you stop. What hit you to say I should write a book? Is this? And first off, we should say it's nonfiction, right? This is true stories.
It is I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So I don't want to. It's all about your father, I believe, right? And his, was it your father?
The story originated, and the book is called "Bombing Hitler's Hometown." The story originated with a family mystery surrounding my uncle.
That was it. Okay.
My uncle was a bombardier with the 15th Air Force, which was one of two strategic air forces in Europe in World War II. This was the one based in Italy. He went through 21 combat missions as a bombardier.
Don't jump on this too far. We're going to go over all this, I promise. We got 18 minutes. But you come, okay, so this is your uncle. You've obviously heard stories. Maybe your dad had told you about your uncle. He comes back, right? He gets through the war okay, but he ends up passing on the way home. Is that what I'm under the impression?
He unfortunately came home and was ready to be discharged. He was running out the clock, basically, and he got an opportunity to jump on an airplane at the last second to fly from South Dakota to Wisconsin, and then he was going to take a train to Illinois, where my family is from. Okay. And that plane crashed, and all aboard were killed. This was in September of 45. Just weeks after the war ended.
See, it absolutely is, and this is the people probably don't understand. We see plane crashes now; it's all over the news. 1945, the end of the war. The end of the war was all over the newspaper, and that plane crash was probably, other than locally, not covered much at all, I presume.
Right.
All right. So you get all done with the heavy lifting in the CIA. Not saying that what you're doing now is easy, but come on, it's easy. You're doing it. What makes you decide now's the time to write a book on this? What hit you? What changed? You've obviously heard your uncle your whole life.
I have, in fact, I started this in 2011. It took a good 12, 13 years to bring it to fruition. And, for a good chunk of that, I had CIA as my day job. So I had a few things going on in my life, small kids and a day job.
But what trickled your interest? What made you say book time?
It was book time because I didn't know much about my uncle. My dad and he were very close, and the death wrecked the family. There were 8 kids, and to suddenly lose one after the war was devastating. And, in 2008 or so, I started to get information from my aunts and my dad, and eventually I acquired his letters that he wrote home. And I used the letters to determine which combat missions he went on. And I just became curious, and I started to research each one. And what do you know? I came to Linz, Austria, the mission on April 25th, 1945. And long story short, a lot about the mission and that city, which we'll talk about, grabbed my attention, and I just ran with it. And I knew within about a year that it was a story I had to tell. And I couldn't rest until I had done it.
Well, day after tomorrow is the anniversary of the D-Day bombing. This is perfect timing to have this book come out. For folks who don't know, Linz, Austria, was it really Hitler's hometown? I know he used to claim it as his hometown, but was it his hometown? Do we know that? Is that where he was born?
No, I'm not saying it was his birthplace. His birthplace was north of Linz, but he was born.
Called it. Yeah.
He called it his hometown, and in his last will and testament, he calls it that. Linz was where he lived for about 10 years of his life it's 9 years of his life between age 9 and 18. And he loved the city, but some formative things happened during that time period. Both of his parents passed away. His baby brother passed away. He went through puberty, and he was exposed to German nationalist ideas for the first time in his middle school there. So he became enraptured with the city, but there were things about it he didn't like. He didn't like a lot of the architecture. So when he dropped out of school at age, I believe, 16, he would spend his days kind of as a vagabond, walking around the city and sketching and writing poetry. And he would draw pictures of what he would do to the city if he had the chance. So when he did have a chance, 30 years later, as the Chancellor of Nazi Germany, he essentially entered the city at the head of a conquering army. And what happened there on the square that night in March 1938 changed history. He decided to annex Austria based on the reception he received in the Linz town square. And the rest, as they say, is history. So
I don't pretend that I know the history of it anywhere near like you do, but I did see this History Channel program about the art that was stolen across all of Europe, and a lot of that ended up in Linz, as I understand that, right? That's how I heard about Linz. Is they were talking about it as his hometown that he wasn't born in, but that's what he called his hometown, Linz, and he put a lot of art there.
Well, that was the plan. He intended to remake the city in his own image. Mm-hmm. It would become the cultural capital of of Europe. Yeah. And he set upon a program to rebuild the city, to make it kind of a new Rome on the Danube River. And into the great museum there, named after him, of course, there would go all of this art that his minions would soon begin stealing from across Europe. But it was never built.
Okay, it was not. I've got to go to break, if you don't mind. If you can wait for 2 minutes, let's talk more about the book and exactly what we're going to get out of it and how people can get it. Can we do it right after this?
Yes, sir.
I've got him, Mike Croissant, the author of Bombing Hitler's Hometown. More of that right after this.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
A as in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
If you're just joining us, we've got Mike Croissant on with us. He was a CIA guy before he retired from there. He wrote a book about his uncle, or he started with his uncle, who fought in World War II, survived it, but then died tragically trying to get home, which is sad. But Mike starts looking into things. I like the last missions that these people flew, and you actually call it the untold story of the last mass bombing raid of World War II. How come we haven't heard more about it, and can you tell me about it?
Absolutely. The mission to bomb lands originated out of a desire by the 15th Air Force, military need, to destroy the supplies that were spotted in the rail system there. The Linz had a major rail yard, and at this point in the war, as the noose was shrinking around the neck, closing around the neck of Nazi Germany, Linz was the last major communications center. Okay. When our reconnaissance aircraft spotted so many rail cars full of supplies there, it was clear that this had to be taken out so the war could be shortened. So the men went up, about 500 bombers and 200 escort fighters, and they were absolutely shot to pieces. It was a very well-defended target, and the Germans threw everything they could against them. And the men had a very rough day. And in fact, 28 men were killed. Many more were wounded. 15 bombers were shot down. And those who survived it were never the same again.
Well, give me an idea how you end up researching this. How do we know this is how this worked? You found papers about this. Tell me how you got the info, the inside skinny on the book.
Sure. Luckily, I lived near the National Archives, so I spent a lot of time digging up documents from the time. I came across the list of names of many men who were on the mission.
Let me interrupt for a second. Is it because something your uncle or your father told you about it? How did you know to look it up? How do you know about the last mass bombing if no one knew about the last mass bombing?
I looked it up because Linz, I didn't know, was Hitler's hometown at the time, but that caught my attention, and I just started to Google, and I did find a couple accounts that men had written and posted, and that got me interested. And then as I dug deeper and deeper, it quickly became something I had to do because, like you said, this had not been told before, and needed to be. Men bled and died because of this. And a great many men, suffered for decades afterwards because of that day. And
so you do the research that's written down, and you go to the archives, you can see some of that, maybe some of the letters you find on Google. How many did you talk to people that were actually there? How many people did you talk to about this?
I talked to about 55 men.
55, wow.
It was incredible. I caught them in their late 80s, early 90s.
Well, the fact that many had left, yes, congratulations.
I caught them at the perfect moment in their lives where many had never spoken about it. Most had never spoken about it, and they were ready to, for the most part. With some, I got very down into the details with them because they just needed to unburden themselves. They carried a lot of wounds on the inside from this. A couple men didn't talk much, but those who did really shared a lot. And it was such a brutal mission that it was very vivid, the amount of detail that was seared into their memories. Cool. So I just went through it with them. What was it like? I went super nerdy on my end. I rode in a B-24 bomber. I climbed all over a B-17. I studied technical manuals. I wanted to get the details right.
Okay.
So the feedback I get most from people who've read it is that I make you feel like you're there. And that's what I was aiming for. This is not an academic study. This is an action adventure survival story. And I put you in those bombers on that very terrible day.
But I think fiction or nonfiction, it's not fiction. This is a true story. This is these guys' true story, maybe blended together. 55 guys did get to one book. It's not right. I mean, how do you describe it that way? How historically accurate is it?
It's the story of the mission told from the perspective of the men who were there, using interviews, using diaries that had never been used before, documents from the day, photos taken. And I just put it all into a narrative, and it's quite a special story, if I may say so. The sad part is that the story was almost lost to history. If it wasn't for me and my persistence in getting the story out there, this last great bomber raid of the war in Europe would never have been told.
Go again, get History Channel on it, because I want to see the visual of this as well. I follow a lot of the History Channel on almost everything they put on with the war. I do. I watch it. That's why I knew I heard Linz, Austria, but I don't remember. It was the context of the Stolen Art Project. How does someone go about picking your book up, sir? I presume you're the Amazon guy. Is that where you want them to get it? Where's the best place to pick up your book?
It's available in bookstores. It's available pretty much anywhere books are sold. Amazon is a good place to get it, but any other bookseller like that would have it. I also have a website, mykecroissant.com, where you can find where I'm going to be next in my book tour. And
you are going around and doing book tours in other places, because that's how the History Channel is going to find you. We got to get the History Channel to find you and put this thing to film. I would love that very, very much. I went to mykecroissant.com. That's where I get it. Look under books. You've written other books as well. Probably didn't get as much traction with the Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict. I mean, it's important, but I get it. But you've actually written 3 books, right?
I've edited one and wrote 2.
All right, fair enough. This is one we'd like you to pick up right now. It is The Bombing Hitler's Hometown by Mike Croissant, the untold story of the last mass bombing raid of World War II in Europe. Fantastic read. You're going to love it. Go to mykecroissant.com, go to books, order it there. Any chance a guy can get one? Do you autograph them if I buy them from you, or if I get Amazon doesn't work that way? Do you?
The only place that has them in stock that have been signed is the National World War II Museum.
Oh, wow.
You can get them there. And
fantastic.
They have them ready to go.
So I presume if you're in the National World War II Museum, they've read it, they know it, and they understand that this is accurate. This isn't going to come back and say, wow, they didn't know. This is great. Good for you. Nice marketing ploy. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I spoke there early last month. It was wonderful.
Okay, well, good for you. And this book came out when? How long ago did you write this? Because the week of D-Day is found a good time to do this.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And
what was the date of the bombing?
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
What was the date of the bombing? Do you know off the top of your head?
April 25th, 1945, 13 days before the war ended.
All right, well, we're going to have a major push on this thing as we get to that anniversary next spring. Fair enough? I got you too late. I apologize about that.
Oh, it's okay.
All right. Mike, I appreciate you very much. Thank you very much. The book sounds like a fantastic read. Pick it up, Amazon or at mykecroissant.com. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Al. Bye-bye.
If it's your turn to host a game,